It is Monday, November 23rd, 2020. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was yet another non-virtual get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Monday. Did not actually get my ass kicked. Was kind of dominant today, honestly. I was doing a little bit of live drilling with my partner today. And it was an interesting progression that we were working on. I still don't know that I'm any closer to understanding half of the fucking submissions that we worked on today. But we worked them from a few different positions, and mostly it was coming in from the from a guard position, like a open guard position, or mission control for those of you who are aware of it. And it was funny because we were starting from inside our opponent's guard, me and my partner. But actually, from headquarters, you're supposed to have one leg in between your, one of your opponent's legs in between your legs, and then you shift it over and you lean into it a little bit, and you shove that knee right into their thigh and slide it across, and then kind of spin around to where you're facing their feet, and then hooking the knee, pulling it over. And the part that I was having the most trouble with is, and it's really important that you do this, is you want to take, like, if you're like me, you'll end up on your left hip in this position, right? And so what you do is you take that knee, your left knee, and you bring it in really, really tight and kind of push your opponent's knee out a little bit as you're doing it, and bringing that arm over. And then you want to take the left leg and your left ankle, you want to grab onto your opponent's leg, and then bring your right leg over the top of that and triangle it, and then get it in a nice locked down position, and then do your roll. Well, I was having the hardest time grabbing it with my left leg, or at least remembering to. And there were actually a couple entries to this, and the one I liked the most is, like, if your opponent has got their knee up and they're trying to keep you from passing their guard and going into full mount, you just grab a hold of the foot, like right at the toes, and you bring it towards you, and they'll try and pull it back down, right? And when they do, you let them pull it back down until their foot is past their leg, and then you shove it over to the outside, and you grab it with your left hand. Now, one thing I was doing, and I don't know if this is right or if it's wrong or whatever, but one of the things I liked doing was re-grabbing it with my right hand after I got it on the outside there, letting go of it with my left hand, and then using the toe in the foot to crank my opponent onto their side and bring that leg closer to me. So, and really, if you can get way up under their armpit, this is way easier. It's like if you can get way up under their armpit with your left elbow, and like either post it at their hips with your hands to kind of keep you up there. But when you have that grip on your opponent and you keep it really, really tight, it's pretty easy to bring their hips over to where they've got their left knee on the ground. And so you could just hook it from there. Like if you have your left leg ahead of theirs after you've brought that leg down, you can just bend your knee and hook that leg, and you're halfway to where we're wanting to go, And the other thing is that if you really hold on to, if you pull that leg back into you after you've gotten it tied up, right? That if you're high enough up on your opponent, you can just lean over on your right hand side, and you're going to pull them over into the position that you want them to be in. And if you just retain possession of that toe, you can basically choose how you want to try and submit them. You can take that toe and put it up over your head, and do like a banana split, or you could let go of the toe, but holding on to it, but like hook it with your right hand around the thigh, and then your left hand, do like I don't know, a gable grip. I don't know, a gable grip would be tight enough for it. And hold it tight, and you can get a nutcracker that way too, or banana split rather. But there's a multitude of ways to work that around to where you can get into all kinds of different submissions with that. And so, like, that's what I was saying, is that I got kind of lost in all the little submissions that were available from that position. And more importantly, I found one we weren't even working on, you know. And so it was like there was one part where it's a neck crank, and I just I circumvented one move on it, and I was able to get that neck crank in there and, you know, get him to tap on it. But anyway, yeah, like I said, a lot of different submissions from that one position. You know, there's so many different starts to position transitions from there. You know, but I can see a lot of potential in there for setups for coming back around on a what do you call it, a full mount. You know, like I was saying, if you get a hold of that toe, you know, and you're already at side control, you get a hold of that toe, you pull it towards you, you let your opponent pull it back, and when they do, push it back below their leg, grab a hold of it, right? And then push on the knee to where you're able to push yourself up a little bit further, and roll your right knee into that hip, disengage the foot, and roll with it, you know. So you're disengaging the foot so that you can clear your arm to the other side, and like I said, you just keep pushing into it. I think I'm gonna have to try that. I think it's there. I think there's a mount possibility there with that toe grab as a good setup for it. Because, like I said, you have a lot of control over your opponent's hips with that. You know, like if you can get them trapped over to one side and like with your right hand be holding their left foot at the toes, I mean, you got really good control. I mean, you can let go of it and they can bring their knees over. And in that process, if you got your knee in already, then bring it on over and go knee on belly with them or something like that. But like I said, it seems like there's a lot of control there, and I think that if I were able to get that grip on somebody, that transitioning it over to a full mount would be available and not that hard to do. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with some music. And yeah, as far as where to go, what song, I'm not entirely sure which to start it off with. You know, I typically do body count though, so I think we'll go there. And here we go. Bloodlust, First Dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Slipknot with Spit It Out. I was tempted to let it go, continue going on and on and on, but you know, I got to come back on it sometime. And so, you know, no time like the present. So here I am. As far as what we're going to get into today, I got a whole bunch of stuff. I did a bit of digging around. Man, the fucking altcoin market is going fucking berserk right now. I'm loving it. I think it's awesome. And, yeah. I mean, I'm tempted to, like, cancel all of my sell orders because I fucked up. I had some XRP and I sold it at like 2,500. It's like 3,600 now. It's verging up on 3,700 as we speak. So yeah, man, it's really exciting stuff. You know, although I believe that ultimately Ripple will be used to bring down the global economy. I've said as much on the show. But I always wondered how. You know, how exactly that would take place or how it would be set up. And I'm starting to get a little bit of a picture as to how it can infect the fiat markets as well as crypto. And I think one of the big linchpins there is stable coins, specifically USDC and USDT. I think that there's there's already plenty of evidence of them being used in smart contracts. in ways that US dollars would not be able to be used. Even if you were doing USDT transactions on chain, you would not be able to abuse them the way that they were in a few of these DeFi projects. I mean, like the one, I think it was Origin, got $7 million cleaned out, and the guy was bouncing a lot of the money between a synthetic US dollar stablecoin that he had created, the Origin stablecoin, DAI, USDT, and USDC. Now, if you notice, all of those are currencies that can be used without on-chain transactions. You know, specifically in these DeFi markets and whatnot. But because they can be used that way, you know, the thing about these smart contracts is I think there's a possibility for them to be abused in that they can't account for all of the activity going on out there. And so the individual coins and individual currencies out there, they all have their own little dynamic. You know, and if you know how to write shit, you can get it to flip back and forth into all kinds of different currencies, and all kinds of different cryptocurrencies, all kinds of different fiat currencies, and before you know it, somebody's ganked all your money. And again, these are things that can't be done if you're doing it explicitly in Bitcoin transactions or any other cryptocurrency that's proof of work. If you're doing it with on-chain transactions, the fucking funds settle at the end of each transaction. And it's the whole reason why we use cryptocurrencies as opposed to US dollars or any of that other shit. And so, I mean, it's hilarious to me that people keep thinking that you can substitute a program for people in like every little aspect, and you can to some extent. I mean, functionally you can, you know, to where you get it down to like one click and the fucking whole thing happens in the background. Yes, you can. The problem is, should you? You know, I mean, there's all kinds of things going on out there that you cannot account for on a moment-to-moment basis. And so, trying to use cryptocurrencies in this way, I think it's best done solely on exchanges that you're at least willing to trust your money to, you know, that do have a reputation, you know. And I think that one of the problems is that we're so eager to just trust shit and just roll with it, man. And it's a good way to get burned. You know, I mean, like this run right now, this altcoin run. You know, sure, you can make money, you can lose money too. You know, you bet too hard on any one thing, you can lose the money just as well as you can earn it. So, you know, it's not an end all be all. You know, with regard to what money is and what money can do, we still need people involved, believe it or not. But anyways, as far as what we're going to get into today, I saw this one and I thought it was pretty interesting, and we will get into it. Let's get into it now, fuck it. The other one that I had up isn't really the kind of subject that I want to start off on. Anyway, this is on news.bitcoin.com. And it's by Terrence Zimwara. So yes, penis. End of Western Union remittance service to Cuba, a boon for crypto. As new U.S. government measures that impose restrictions on remittances to Cuba becomes effective after November 22nd, Western Union, which has been operating in the island nation since 1999, will close shop. The new rule, which was published on October 27th, gave Western Union 30 days to implement new restrictions. The new rule is likely to increase the appeal of crypto assets, as Cubans are now expected to find a suitable alternative in a very short space of time. Targeted sanctions. At the time of the initial U.S. government announcement, the global remittances giant had promised to find a solution for its Cuban customers. However, in a later update on November 13th, Western Union said it was unable to, quote, find a solution in this limited time frame. Bunch of bullshit. For its part, the U.S. government says remittances to Cuba can still flow, but, quote, not through the hands of the Cuban military, which uses those funds to oppress the Cuban people and to fund Cuba's interference in Venezuela. According to U.S. officials, Western Union's partner in Cuba, Fincimex, is controlled by the Cuban military, hence the new measures. In the meantime, the end of the formal remittances services to Cuba by Western Union is likely to rattle the communist country's financial position. Cuba counts remittances as one of its top sources of foreign currency, and some estimates place total remittances in 2017 at $3.5 billion. The Cuban families that rely on remittances sent from the United States for survival, the end of Western Union's remittance service presents a new challenge. Either the senders will resort to using these sometimes unsafe informal channels, or they will simply switch to digital alternatives like Bitcoin. The growing use of cryptocurrency remittances. Already, reports suggest a growing use of cryptocurrencies by some Cuban residents. Cryptocurrencies are being used to pay for utilities and for cross-border payments. Furthermore, the restrictions on human movement imposed to curb the spread of COVID-19 appear to have sparked an increase in usage of cryptocurrency by Cuban expatriates when sending money. For instance, the peer-to-peer platform Remittance, which enables the sending of remittances via Bitcoin, reported increased business during the lockdown period. According to one report, recipients that use Remittance will have their local bank card credited with the Cuban convertible pesos, CUC, or Cuban pesos, CUP, upon the transfer of funds from abroad using Bitcoin. This system is independent of banks, and since it uses decentralized cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, neither the U.S. government nor the authorities in Cuba can censor transactions. Another organization, Cuba Crypto, uses an almost similar process where a, quote, trusted third party receives the Bitcoins. In return, the trusted party will credit the named beneficiary's bank account with the local currency equivalent. In Cuba Crypto's case, all trades are initiated via social media channels like Telegram and WhatsApp. Peer-to-peer transactions to grow. As a result of the rule changes by the U.S. government, many Cubans will find it logical making the switch to cryptocurrencies. Sadly, however, due to the overarching effect of the U.S. government's restrictive measures, regulated peer-to-peer exchange platforms will refrain entering the Cuban market to fill the void left behind by Western Union. Already, exchange platforms like Paxful and Local Bitcoins have, just like Western Union, been forced to abandon the Cuban market. Cuban residents can access local.bitcoin.com, the non-custodial and peer-to-peer marketplace that allows users to trade BCH with cash and 30-plus payment methods. Consequently, both Cubans abroad and homebound recipients of remittances will likely be compelled to create cryptocurrency wallets. The cryptocurrency wallet will not only enable them to receive funds directly from senders, but it will help recipients to bypass certain Cuban government schemes that forces families to buy expensive state-produced goods. Furthermore, cryptocurrencies will not only help with the safe transfer of funds to the beneficiaries, but will also enable recipients to shield these funds from inflation, currency depreciation, and even expropriation. Do you agree that the new restrictions will spur on the use of cryptocurrencies when sending remittances to Cuba? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that will initiate some more remittance activity happening within the cryptocurrency space. And Ken Silverman in the comments section says, you should be very careful before claiming that Remittance is independent of banks and the military. Where is Remittance getting their Cuban pesos to begin with to, quote, fund a Cuba's bank card? Or a Cuban's bank card. They have to get the pesos from a Cuban bank, which is controlled by the military. The more pesos they get, the more Bitcoin they, quote, give to those banks, which goes in some percent to the military, which can convert the Bitcoin to any currency they want. In fact, closing Western Union is better for the Cuban military financial liquidity. It also strengthens the Cuban peso, owner of NationPay commenting here. Yeah, that's interesting. Kind of an unforeseen consequence. But I think that's really interesting in that, you know, by trying to act in a way that deters activity going to Cuba, we're creating an initiative, an incentive to abuse the loophole that cryptocurrencies provide and just circumvent all this shit altogether. And I think that is going to be the case, that people are going to be using things like DeFi tokens and ERC20 tokens and fucking Bitcoin Cash tokens and Bitcoin tokens and whatever, and they'll be circumventing everybody, including all of the regulated exchanges. You know, I think this is going to flip the pendulum back the other way. You know, see, back in the I want to say between 2016 and 2018, there was this big push to get all of the cryptocurrency exchanges to be practicing KYC AML bullshit. And the problem is that all of that stuff creates completely unneeded security risks to the customers and to the exchanges themselves. And you know, of course, that's why we have regulation in legacy markets, is because they're custodying people's funds and all that other bullshit. However, I will say that the volume of hacks has not gone down since they started doing all this AML KYC bullshit. And even attempts at blacklisting currencies and stuff. I mean, you heard me. I was just talking about how they're using stablecoins to circumvent all this shit. And that doesn't change the farther along we go. That's never changed. There's always been some way to sneak around. But the problem is that the harder they push to get everything confined down to little regulated channels and whatnot, the more it will go into smaller and smaller hands, some of which will be able to handle the process, and others that won't. You know, and their idea is that they're going to kind of attrition everybody down to where we're just using Bank of America or US Bank or somebody else like that to do all of our Bitcoin and cryptocurrency transactions for us. And the problem with that perspective is that we've never needed them. Cryptocurrencies were created specifically to not need them, to disintermediate them from our financial activity. And in the long run, I believe that what's going to happen is that we're going to see these exchanges lobbying to Congress and whatnot, saying, hey, you know what? We are in only the basest way possible connected to any of your US dollar or fucking central banking system. And where we are connected, we have all of the regulated information, we have all of that register, all of that shit. But the problem is that all of these requirements that we really don't need your physical address. We really don't need to know who you are. We do if we want to send any money to a bank account for you, but as far as sending cryptocurrency to you, we don't need that information. And the requirements that Congress puts on them and the CFTC and the SEC and all these other organizations, they create undue costs. Because you don't need that information, it is an undue cost for you to have to store and secure that information. So not only are you being imposed with an undue cost on that end, but going forward, people that don't have things like a physical address or a bank account or a phone can't do business with you. And why? Because if you don't have a bank card, or you can do business with them without the bank card information and shit. But if they want to do anything with fiat, of course, you need all the AML-CY bullshit. You need all that shit for that. But if they're trading exclusively in crypto, there should be no limitations on how much they can trade or any of that other bullshit. And as far as finding people who abuse the exchanges or hack the exchanges or something like that, all of that stuff is, you can find it out. You can find it out. There isn't any of it that is so unwatched that if there were ever some major hack and a lot of people lost a shit ton of money, that there wouldn't be enough of an incentive to go after them. We've already seen where certain exchanges, this last one, the OMG, or not OMG, Origin people, they're like, fuck, dude, hey, tell you what, if you give us all the money back, we're not going to turn you in, and we'll hire you as a security consultant. I mean, really, at some point or another, somebody is going to accept that deal, and it's going to create a whole new market, a whole new incentive base to abuse the fuck out of these exchanges and make their lives fucking hell trying to steal that money, because the reward will be there if they're successful. And that makes things bad for everybody, And to me, it's like, I believe that they're trying to set up a pretext by which the public will support complete bans on certain types of cryptocurrencies and will require licensure to participate in a variety of others. And that's one of the reasons, I think at least, that Vitalik is all eager to push Ethereum over to a proof of stake network, because I think it was the FATF or the CFTC or one of those organizations talked about regulating validators, which is basically what the network for Ethereum would become, is just a bunch of validators. And I suppose there'll be some miners out there, but they'll be running fucking proof of stake algorithms instead of proof of work. And supposedly they've got the funds staked up. But my question still remains, it's like, if they get the money in there, if they get enough money locked up in the contract, what is the magic that is going to turn all the miners from proof of work to proof of stake? What's the magic involved there? I don't know how that's supposed to work. But I mean, I'm not the most technical person involved in this space, so I wouldn't be the person to ask about it. Hopefully one of these days we'll have one of those people on. I am in talks to get a certain gentleman on this show, and specifically because I believe his services to this community have been mostly unrecognized, and I intend to resolve that, or at least to the best of my ability. Shit, McAfee comes on my show, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to talk to him. He made a Bitcoin purchase, and it seemed like there was a teeny bit of interest in him, but like I said, it didn't seem like it had any real depth, And then I talked to him, and we got about an hour and change of talking to him. And like I told somebody else this, that that's actually more footage of him talking than pretty much anybody has gotten out of the man. So I think it's kind of interesting that the kind of impact that had on people's desire to communicate with him, because it did seem like the level of interest in talking to Mr. McAfee went higher after that interview. Of course, I'm not trying to blow myself up. He had already had plenty of infamy before I came along. So anyway, as far as what else we got, I wanted to dive a little bit further into this. And I got this thing here from Western Union, and it's in association to the article that we just read, Sending Money to Cuba from the United States. And this is by Margaret Fogarty, and it was authored November 13th, 2020. So not all that long ago. This Q&A provides the most up-to-date information about money transfer services between the U.S. and Cuba, and will be updated regularly to reflect any changes to services. Oh, and by the way, Margaret Fogarty, so no penis. Number 1, the rule and deadline. What is the status on sending money to Cuba? The U.S. government recently changed the regulations for sending money to Cuba. When moving your money, we are obligated to comply with all government regulations. The new rule, which was published on October 27, 2020, provided 30 days to implement new restrictions. We have been working around the clock to explore every possible option to keep our services open between the U.S. and Cuba, as we recognize this is a vital channel for our customers. Unfortunately, we have not been able to find a solution in this limited time frame. Yeah, you're full of shit. Fucking do it in Dogecoin, for Christ's sake. You could do it in Dogecoin, make a decent profit, and everybody happy. Anyway, continuing on. November 22nd, 2020 at 11 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time. The latest opportunity to send money from the Cuba to U.S. via WU.com, the WU mobile app, and local WU locations. Oh, the last opportunity. November 23rd at 6 p.m. Cuba time, the deadline to pick up money at Western Union retail locations in Cuba. Please encourage your family members to pick up at Western Union retail agent locations in Cuba immediately. Refunds. If your money transfer transaction to Cuba is not picked up by your receiver, you can request a refund at any time. You will be refunded in full through your original payment method. These deadlines will enable us to pay out transfers to your receivers in Cuba before the U.S. government rule takes effect on November 26, 2020. Find your Western Union stores on the Western Union Retail Agent Locator. What is the deadline to send money to Cuba? November 22nd at 11 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time. The last opportunity to send money from the U.S. to Cuba via WU.com and the WU mobile app and local WU locations. November 23rd, 2020, 6 p.m. Cuba time, the deadline to pick up money at Western Union locations. And yes, we already read that information, and so we'll just skip ahead to the next one. What options is Western Union exploring to continue service to Cuban customers? We've been working around the clock to explore every possible option to keep our services open between the U.S. and Cuba, as we recognize this vital channel for our customers. The new rule, which was published on October 27, 2020, provided 30 days to implement new restrictions. Unfortunately, we've not been able to find a solution within this limited time frame. Bullshit, I just gave you one. When will I be able to send money to Cuba again using Western Union services? At this stage, we have no indication when this situation might be resolved. Please be assured that if there are any developments, We will we will inform you immediately. Yeah, whatever. How long has Western Union been operating in Cuba? Since 1999. Refunding unclaimed transactions to Cuba. What happens to the money I sent if my receiver in Cuba does not pick up their transaction? Yeah, we already got that one. How will yeah, we already got that one. And I have misplaced my Western Union MTCN. How can I apply for a refund? Okay, and it just gives us a service number there. So yeah, that's a stupid move, Western Union. You're basically just costing yourself money. It's simple enough to facilitate the transactions for Cubans in cryptocurrency without even including the government. The problem is that they will experience friction. Of course, Western Union will experience friction from the Cuban government for doing this. And it's not to say it's impossible, though, and this idea that they don't have another option is just silliness to me. But I got this next one here, and it's on thedialogue.org. And this is by Denise Delgado Vasquez. So no penis. The nexus of digital platforms and cryptocurrency, remittances to Cuba during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is authored September 24th, 2020. Remittance flows to Cuba. During the COVID-19 crisis, Mexico and the Dominican Republic have experienced an unexpected increase in remittance transactions. However, most countries in Latin America and the Caribbean saw a sharp decline in remittance flows in April before beginning to rebound in June. In Cuba, the volume of remittances has been decreasing this year and is expected to continue to drop. Florida is home to the largest community of Cuban migrants living abroad. Based on U.S. consensus estimates for 2019, nearly 1 million Cubans live in Miami-Dade County. In July, Florida became the New World epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic. South Florida, home to 2/3 of the Cuban population living in the United States, was notably impacted by this context. Much of Florida's economy is underpinned by tourism, gastronomy, and entertainment industries, which have been severely affected by the measures to contain the virus. Consequently, many immigrants in that area became unemployed with the closure of economic activities. Increasing unemployment has directly affected the Cuban community living there, and therefore it is to be expected that the volume of remittances sent to Cuba would decrease considerably. The size of remittance flows has also been affected by the Trump administration's restrictions on remittances to the island. These restrictions rolled back by President Obama's Cuban policy, which allowed unlimited remittances to be sent to Cuba and instead limited immediate family members in the U.S. from sending more than $1,000 per calendar quarter to their relatives. Consequently, the decrease in remittances that can be sent to Cuba during the COVID-19 crisis will not only have a detrimental impact on the Cuban economy generally, but on the survival strategies of individual families, as well as the ability of private enterprise to continue operating. Second, reduced remittance flows are aggravated by two factors affecting travel to the island. Number one, travel restrictions to Cuba imposed by the Trump administration, which were designed to cut off funds from the Cuban government and its agencies. And number two, steps taken by the Cuban government to limit international flights to Cuba as a measure for controlling the spread of the pandemic. A significant part of remittances, be it money or products, enters Cuba through informal channels. While this latter measure protects Cubans living on the island from being infected by visitors, it also decreases the flow of remittances that usually enter through informal channels or so-called mullahs. people who bring money and goods to the island. Generally, private agencies abroad hire mullahs to provide Cubans with cash remittances and products that support basic needs, as well as to supply small businesses with essential products. Digital technology, cryptocurrencies, and remittances. A source from Cuba reports that since flights have been limited, he finds it challenging to access some essential goods he used to buy from mullahs. However, he notes that his use of cryptocurrencies to pay for services has increased. During the quarantine, he has been listening to music on Spotify, watching movies and shows on Netflix, and playing Dota online through Steam, all of which he pays for using cryptocurrency. With cryptocurrency, he tops up his cell phone service and pays for internet access through Nada, the internet provider in Cuba. To carry out the transaction, he uses BitRefill, a platform that provides products and services and accepts cryptocurrency as payment. Using the BitRefill platform, he buys gift cards to pay for his bills for the entertainment providers mentioned above. All this is possible because he can purchase cryptocurrencies using a digital wallet, also known as an e-wallet, to carry out transactions. One of the most significant advantages of e-wallet is that the transactions are peer-to-peer. There is no bank intermediary. Quote, just you and the other person, either to pay or to receive, he explains. The author's source in Cuba stresses that, quote, anyone, anywhere in the world with access to the internet, some cryptocurrencies, and an e-wallet can access those sites and pay for all those things. However, most Cubans are not familiar with the use of cryptocurrency, as the crypto system is still emerging. Also, buying cryptocurrencies is expensive for Cubans on the island, who receive an average monthly salary of around 879 CUP, Cuban pesos, equivalent to 36 US dollars. Nonetheless, the crypto world is attractive, especially to a considerable group of Cuban young people. It has provided entertainment during quarantine in the form of movies, music, and video games, and has even enabled them to invest online. Alex Sobrino, the founder of Cuba Crypto, which has been operating there since 2018, says that, quote, new ways of sending remittances to the island have emerged. Sobrino, who is also a Cuban entrepreneur and freelancer, claims Cuba Crypto is the first crypto finance community on the island. He emphasizes that it offers a new way of sending remittances. In his view, it has become trendy among Cubans living abroad to send cryptocurrencies to a trusted contact in Cuba. The contact in Cuba delivers the equivalent in local currency, Cuban convertible pesos, CUC, or Cuban pesos, CUP, through cash or bank transfers to the recipient's Cuban bank account. This method favors not only families that receive remittances, but also entrepreneurs and cryptocurrency enthusiasts in Cuba who access these currencies regularly. Generally, cryptocurrency owners initiate their offers through the instant messaging applications Telegram or WhatsApp and wait for the interested purchasers to contact them. Once in communication, both parties proceed to agree on price, quantity, type of currency, and the method of payment. To carry out the transaction, the person interested in buying the cryptocurrencies must have an e-wallet to receive the digital currency. The buyer then pays the seller in the local currency through traditional channels. Once the seller verifies that he or she has received the agreed upon amount, the cryptocurrencies are sent to the user's e-wallet, closing the deal. Online platforms have also been used during the COVID-19 pandemic, to send remittances to family members in other parts of the Latin American and Caribbean region. According to experts, Orozco, Klaus, and Ledesma, 2020, digital remittances are transactions provided through online financial technology and payment vehicles show a growing trend and represent at least 20% of remittance market share. They are often carried out as online transfer deposited into the home country relative's bank account. The impact of this modernization is relevant, as the digital payment system is becoming popular among the entire immigrant population in the U.S., providing them with more financial tools to access. Digital technology and financial education. Remitly, RIA, WorldRemit, and Zoom are online international money transfer providers that offer their services to immigrants living in the United States to send remittances to their acquaintances in Latin America and the Caribbean. Through the online money transfer services, they have been able to send remittances faster and at lower fees as compared to fees for sending cash remittances. In the Latin American region, digital remittances are now frequently used to pay for bills for services such as electricity, water, gas, the home phone line, and monthly rent. Therefore, by sending digital remittances, family members living abroad directly contribute to paying for the essential services the families back home need. The crypto world and the use of digital remittances are still incipient in Cuba, but digital transactions are widely used. For example, to top up their friends' and family's cell phone number plans. Even cryptocurrencies have been useful for doing so. It is notable that electronic payment systems are growing even in countries with poor internet infrastructure and international financial limitations, such as Cuba. The development of digital technology in sending remittances could play a crucial role in helping family members soften the impacts of the COVID-19 crisis in their economy and support the emerging private sector. However, the development of digital technology must go hand in hand with training in digital and financial education. This turns out to be an important and beneficial side effect of increasing use of these platforms for remittances because it requires both the sender and receiver to acquire critical new knowledge. Moreover, people who receive financial education are far more likely to develop their savings capacity and become more resilient during the crisis. Being able to save is also essential to facing the challenges posed by the unexpected economic crisis and health situation and the accumulation of capital for investment in a national economy. Having a well-developed digital platform to send remittances to Cuba would help Cubans living abroad keep supporting their families during this challenging time and find businesses that foment development. I couldn't agree more. That was Denise Delgado. She's a PhD candidate in public policy at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, whose research focuses on remittance flows to Cuba and their impact on the island's economy. Interesting. Yeah, I think that remittances have always been a really key feature about crypto. You know, that since 2009, or I'll say 2010 or 11, because that's about when we had our first occurrence of a digital transfer being paid for in Bitcoin, and that was the pizza event, for those of you who have forgotten. But yeah, that's something that's been possible, and it's something that has been increasing in use. And I don't expect that trend to change. I expect it to continue to increase. And as a matter of fact, I've said it a multiple of times, but I believe that there is going to be a period in the not so distant future where people are using and creating their own new cryptocurrencies. And I'm talking about standard proof of work and proof of stake coins. You know, that even though tokens are possible, they are still dependent on on-chain transactions. And it doesn't matter which coin we're talking about. You know, whether we're talking about Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, any of them, Tron. Just because you can do off-chain transactions doesn't mean that you do not have to do on-chain transactions. And invariably, they do involve on-chain transactions. And that in itself will make the process that you're attempting to facilitate with cryptocurrencies more expensive than it has to be, depending on which coin you're using. You know, if you were to use Verge, 30 seconds, that's the block time for it. You know, it's 20 times the capacity of Bitcoin. And that's in a very real, very diverse, and very broad cryptocurrency. Even though it doesn't get a whole lot of fanfare and whatnot, it's still in existence. And in opposition to a lot of the projects that are out there, Verge is designed specifically to hide your identity. Not to say it's 100% successful with that, because I mean, if it's a transfer happening off of a registered or regulated exchange, they have knowledge of it. You know, and so doing chain analytics on it and finding out exactly which address it went to or whatever, that's still a possibility. It requires a lot more work than say Bitcoin, because most of that stuff is just kept on chain with metadata on it. But in regard to Verge and other privacy coins, that stuff is specifically not involved in the transaction. So yeah, I think that the things that we were envisioning in 2014, 2015, they're starting to come to fruition now. And I think we were a little bit premature back then, but that we will see a resurgence of interest of people out there saying, hey, you know what? I can be Satoshi Nakamoto too. You know, there's a reason why all this shit is open source, or most of it anyway. It's so that you can go back and fork the project. You could go back and say, you know what? This looks like 90% of what I want to do, and rather than rewrite all that code, I'm just going to scalp this code off of their GitHub repository, and then I'm going to fork the project, create my own repository, put in the 10% that I want changed in this coin, submit it, put it out there for people to download and fuck around with, and the ball starts rolling again. And it really is that simple. You know, set up a test net, and you know, get a bunch of users to volunteer some computer time on their machine, and get going on it. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down with some music. And I'm not exactly sure where I want to go right off the bat, but I think this one will do. Dark Angel, Time Does Not Heal, here on Coin Metal. And that was the Cavalier Conspiracy with Sanctuary. And so, as far as what else we're going to get into today, I was doing a little bit of digging around, and I came across this thing. And it's kind of pertinent to what we've been talking about with regard to various hacks and exploits that have been happening on DeFi protocols. And so yeah, I got this thing here. It's called Cover Protocol, and it's they've got their own little Medium page here. Launch of Cover Protocol, and this is approximately 5 days ago, and it was written by, I guess, Cover Protocol. The Cover Protocol team would like to thank you for the tremendous and unparalleled support thus far. With that being said, we are proud to announce that Cover Protocol is officially launched. You can mint, redeem, and purchase coverages for the supported protocols on the app. Cover, the governance token, will be released on November 20th, along with shield mining and migrations. Exact time of TGE will be announced 2 hours prior, along with deployed contracts addresses. You can find all of the details below. Supported protocol coverage. After careful consideration and insight from the community, we've chosen a list of protocols of varying risks to launch. Our smart contracts allow for quick and seamless adding of new protocols will be determined on a case-by-case basis. I wonder what process they'll be using to screen them. Continuing. Number 1, Curve. Collateral type is DAI. AVE was... Let's see, DAI. Yeah, apparently all of the ones they evaluated are DAI. And the last one is Cream. So number 3 is Balancer. Number 4, Sushi Swap. 5, Yearn.finance. 6, Pickle.finance. 7, Barnbridge. 8, Harvest.finance. 9, Ren. And 10, Cream. That's weird. I don't see Uniswap on here. Fees information. There is no fee to mint coverage tokens. There will be a default 0.1% changeable by governance fee charged on all redeems. The balancer pool for claim and no claim tokens will have a 1 to 2% fee depending on the risk on swaps. Claims process and payout. There will be a default 3-day grace period after expiry to make a claim on an incident that occurred before the expiry of a specific coverage. When no claim is accepted, there will be a default 10-day delay for redemption of no claim tokens. When a claim is accepted, there will be a default 2-day delay for claim tokens and no claim tokens if partial payout. These delays are to ensure that the community and the CVC have ample time to investigate any claim activity. Details can be found on claims guides from the website. The cover token and migrations. On November 20th, cover will be released. Migration will start. The exact token distribution can be found here. In our original plans, we had a tentative amount of 55,000 cover to be migrated. However, the amount of cover eligible in the snapshot for claiming, for those who missed the Safe 2 migration, was lower than expected by 150 tokens. For now, this difference of 150 cover will be minted to the Treasury, and we will hold a vote for cover holders to decide on what we do with these tokens. On release, Safe 2 holders can migrate to cover, while those who miss the Safe 2 migration will be eligible to claim a partial amount of their snapshotted balance. There will be a migrate button on the left bottom of the new side, the new side navigation. You will be able to migrate all of your Safe 2 to cover, as well as claim all of the eligible cover from the snapshot. There is no deadline to migrate. And apparently it looks like you're getting a 1-to-1 exchange rate there. Interesting. Shield mining. Shield mining will start on November 20th. The exact time will be announced 2 hours prior. Over the next 6 months, there will be approximately 17,000 cover allocated to the shield mining program. This means that there will be a 650 cover distributed each week for mining. 80% of the 654 cover will be allocated to the above supported protocols. 60% of the 654 cover will go to the claim liquidity providers. 20% of the 654 cover will go to the no-claim liquidity providers. 20% of the 654 cover tokens will be allocated to Pool 2 liquidity providers. More details will be released at cover launch on November 20th. Some pools may also be incentivized by the covered protocols through offering their own native protocol tokens as bonus rewards. You must stake your liquidity pool token in the cover pool shield mining portal to participate in the shield mining program for all pools. Each protocol will get a specific allocation at launch. The allocation is pre-assigned. See mining weight on the supported protocols table and can be adjusted. The rewards are calculated based on the pool's allocation, total staked, and stake time. Governance and Decentralization Plan. We are aiming to transition Cover Protocol towards being completely decentralized and governed by cover holders. In order for the transition to go smoothly, there will be 3 phases of governance changes. We will release more details on the phases at a later time. Here's a draft of the 3 phases. Phase 1 will start on December 15th, 2020. Cover holders can make proposals here and can vote on Snapshot. Once a proposal is approved, the governance multi-sig, held by 6 team members, will execute the proposal on behalf of the holders. Phase 2 will be the launch of our decentralized governance system to allow cover token holders to submit proposals on-chain and lock their tokens in order to vote. The voting decision of the proposal will be executed on the cover protocol contracts, including core, claim management, and mining contracts. Phase 3 is the end goal for the cover team, full decentralization. A comprehensive governance model will be built. Cover holders will be the owner/admin of all deployed contracts from Cover Protocol. And it gives us some addresses. And let's see here. Leading up to November 20th, November 15th, 2020, 12 a.m. UTC, 4 hours from now, I guess. And this is on November 14th. Number 1, coverage will expire on the following curve.fi Cove tokens. Cover_curve 2020, 1115 DAI, 0 claim, and no claim, and also the 0 no claim. That's interesting. Prior to the 11/15/2020 expiration date, you may redeem back your collateral with equivalent amounts of your claim and no claim. This can be done on the redeem page. Select curve coverage, the 11/15 expiration date, and the amount of collateral you want to receive back. After November 15th, 2020, 12 a.m. UTC, minting Cove tokens will not be allowed for curve.fi coverage or FI coverage on 11/15/2020, 12 a.m. UTC. Number 2, no claims can be submitted anymore. 3, claim tokens will expire worthless. 4, you will be able to redeem your full collateral back to the amount of no claim tokens you have. There will be a redeem day of 1 day. A redeem delay of 1 day, starting on November 16th, 12 a.m. UTC, and no-claim tokens will be redeemable for their full collateral amount with no redemption fees. Let's see here. And so, yeah, we were starting to go back in time there. Basically, I think this cover business will make it probably partway through number 2 of their roadmap as outlined here. And then when it comes to number 3, they will not actually give up control of the network. They'll end up being the primary custodians and drafters of the upgrades or whatever. And to me, this is another attempt at trying to engender trust in what's going on, with these coins, with these DeFi projects. And if anything, in trying to create some sort of insurance. They're going to set themselves up as a honeypot to be hit. And it looks like there's a comment on here. Oh, let's see here. Okay, never mind. So, like I said, I think they'll get up to number 2. They'll get partway through number 2 and then realize that the decentralized governance that they outlined as their eventual destination will prove to be less viable than they had initially assumed. They'll probably undertake a big old loss, as their protocols, they're going to be covering other people's protocols basically. And so if there is a flaw inherent in one of the coins, in one of the processes of the coins or tokens or whatever, it'll be something that is migrated into them along with whatever fictional value those coins represented. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in this stuff. They're trying to insert some factor of trust, and in the end, I think they'll end up setting themselves up as people to arrest if you want to terminate one of these projects. And then all they have to do is, the feds or whatever put the arm on these guys to give up shit like private key information or their 6 segments of multi-sig or whatever. I mean, that again is another one of those little factors that's supposed to engender more trust in the project. But I mean, really, you go from maybe having to arrest 1 or 2 developers to having to arrest 6 developers, or 6 holders of sections of the private key for the wallets. It's not really a big old, it's not really a big wall of security that you're placing there. I mean, we're still talking about people. We're still talking about money too. And people will try and steal the money. They will try and get the money without doing any work. So on and so forth. That has not changed about humans. And so if you offer them one of these things that's just another complication, another layer of complexity, and substituting that for actual security, all it'll mean is 1 or 2 more steps for an adversarial attacker should they engage in trying to attack one of these projects. That's it. And these guys are going to find out that they're no better at being a custodian of people's funds than any other DeFi project. And the fact that they're dealing with DAI, that again is no real assurance to me. Anyway, digging through a few of my other tabs here, because it looks like some of this stuff can't be reached. No. I'm trying to find a specific article that I had up here, and I did want to get into, and for whatever reason we did not. No. It's not it. English. Translate that shit to English. Well, we could fit this one in, and we might just do that. Here we go. And this is yet another threat that I think some people, they don't really put a lot of stock in it, especially considering the name DeFi. But it still does exist. And if anything, rather than adding decentralization to a project, I think that last thing we were just talking about would actually increase or decrease rather, the security that you're given here in crypto, because these entities like the CFTC, the SEC, they'll continue to go after them because they're basically doing things that banks have to pay license fees in order to do. And, this is another part of that thing I was talking about yesterday or last week. I think it was Friday. Where the OCC was talking about loosening up rules on who can have a bank account. Because apparently they're noticing a lot of money on the sidelines that they can't get a hold of because entities just simply can't get traditional banking services. And so they're trying to end that by lowering the bar so these people can get in. But the problem is I think eventually the auditors of the code and financiers of these projects are going to lie. They're going to be trying to get the money for free. And the entities that are auditing the code and whatnot, they're going to get so overloaded with potential business that they're just going to start rubber stamping shit just to get it out there and get that fucking fee. The same fucking thing happened in housing and housing finance back between 2002 and I want to say 2006. And they started to notice how crazy the fucking market had gotten by 2006. And if you stayed up until 3 a.m. watching cable, you'd invariably run into some fucking infomercial about how to flip houses and shit like that. That was all part of the same thing. And I think that they're trying to set crypto to do the same type of scam. But how it will work out, I think, is that they're going to end up terminating whatever confidence that the public has had in the current fiat system. And if anything, I think that we're going to figure out who is joking and who is really here to do what Bitcoin is meant to do. And that's going to shake a lot of people out. I would expect it to take down a few crypto projects too. Anyway, this thing I got, it's on forecast.news. After BitMEX, will CFTC go after more crypto exchanges and DeFi? This is authored on November 20th, 2020 by Sam Reynolds. So yes, penis. Wow. With an exception of BitMEX and Arthur Hayes, the U.S. Commodities Futures Trading Commission doesn't seem to have any other cryptocurrency exchanges, blockchain company executives, or DeFi projects on its enforcement radar, at least not in the immediate future. Last month, the CFTC charged cryptocurrency exchange BitMEX and several senior company executives, including CEO and co-founder Hayes, with operating an unregistered trading platform and violating the Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering requirements under the Bank Secrecy Act. Despite the criminal charges, Hayes, a Hong Kong resident, has remained out of the reach of U.S. authorities because of a suspended extradition treaty. CFTC Chairman Heath Tarbert said during a recent CoinDesk event that the agency, quote, might be looking at other non-compliant cryptocurrency exchanges and DeFi projects. When asked if the CFTC is investigating other platforms as well, Talbert reportedly replied, quote, I'll say maybe. But in reality, the CFTC doesn't seem like it is looking into any more cryptocurrency exchanges in an official manner at this time. Freedom of Information Act requests sent by Forecast News to the CFTC since April revealed that the agency investigated Arthur Hayes and BitMEX's parent company, HDR Global Trading. But the CFTC would not disclose more details or subpoenas under the enforcement-themed exemption 7A because of an active investigation underway at the moment. The second FOIA request made by Forecast News last month for information on the top cryptocurrency exchanges and a number of DeFi projects has come back from the CFTC with, quote, no documents response. The difference between FOIA Exemption 7A, which is used to withhold documents due to law enforcement proceedings, and, quote, no response documents reply, is the difference between meat and vegetables, attorney David Reischer, CEO of LegalAdvice.com, told Forecast News. Quote, the 7A exemption requires a two-step analysis on whether a law enforcement proceeding is pending or prospective, and the release of information about how it could reasonably be expected to cause some actual harm. The no-response document's reply means that the agency searched and found no relevant records. Braden Perry, a former CFTC enforcement attorney and now a law partner at Kinney Hertz Perry, believes that the Commission would go after the low-hanging fruit of Bank Secrecy Act violations for not having adequate Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering provisions, which is what allegedly did Hayes and BitMEX in, but would stop short of broad regulatory action because, quote, a hasty attempt to rein in every potential wrongdoing would likely fail and cause more damage than good to the DeFi environment. Quote, the CFTC's increasingly expanded view of their jurisdiction will likely be challenged, especially against offshore exchanges and participants that have limited ties to the United States. Perry told Forecast News, quote, this is dangerous territory for the CFTC. Perry points to the possibility that a campaign against DeFi platforms would be, quote, regulation by enforcement as opposed to a defined regulatory framework, transparent and clear to all participants. In other words, completely arbitrary and capricious. Quote, the last thing any industry wants is what the CFTC appears to be doing, regulation by enforcement, in which agencies decide that some practices should be illegal, and instead of declaring it illegal from now on through rulemaking, go back and prosecute the people who were doing it before, Perry added, but that regulatory framework cannot catch innovation and many times frustrate those willing to adopt new technology. A DeFi-themed regulatory regime for the CFTC is coming. As Forecast News has previously reported, there is a regulatory framework for cryptocurrency exchanges and DeFi that is making its way through Congress. The Digital Commodity Exchange Act would seek to, quote, regulate the trading venues which list emerging digital commodities such as Bitcoin, Ether, their forks, and other similar digital assets for trading. To an official public summary of the bill, the end result of the bill would be the creation of a digital commodity exchange, or DCE, to replace the existing regulatory setup of exchanges being regulated as money service providers. The DCEA also delineates legislative responsibilities for token creation and sales, which would categorize the token itself as a commodity under the purview of the CFTC. Yeah, good fucking luck. A 14-year-old could fucking launch a new token. No fucking advice, no oversight by the fucking CFTC. They can go fuck themselves. While Perry says the proposed bill is a start and hits some existing pain points, such as custody of funds and market data, there's not enough clarity in the bill to bring exchanges and projects to the U.S. from their offshore domiciles. Quote, if the CFTC really wants to rein in offshore market participants, they need to understand their lack of action is pushing these companies offshore, Perry said. Without a transparent structure, DeFis are stuck watching their back as opposed to looking to the future. Actually, no, they're going to be looking to the future. They're going to be looking to a future that doesn't involve the CFTC in any way, shape, or form. And that's the kind of future that they're going to be expanding into. You know, it's just like this monkey just said in this article that the innovation, you know, regulators basically are regulating in the rear view, where they have to make up a rule that somebody is violating and then prosecute them for it. But see, the thing is that I think one of the reasons why they are kind of reticent to go after crypto in earnest is because these things aren't being voted on. You know, of course, the cryptocurrency legislation that we're talking about may or may not go through. I will say this, if it does go through, it will set the U.S. up at a deficit. It is going to put more friction on us participating with the rest of the world. And where it does, people are going to be looking for ways around it. Some of them won't be terribly safe, and people are going to end up getting wrecked without any real need to wreck them. You know, because they're being forced into these channels. So that's one of the reasons why we do see so little friction on that end. But it's not without the expectation that might change in the future. And so, like I said, I think that these guys are right to be concerned, you know, that the CFTC might change their rules sometime tomorrow and start going after DeFi and shit. But like I said, this regulatory framework that they're talking about, the only thing it'll actually impact in crypto is exchanges. If you're conducting retail exchanges with anybody where you're selling goods and services for cryptocurrencies, as long as you're using wallets that aren't tied directly to your identification in any way, shape, or form, you're going to be just fine. You're going to be able to transact, and the CFTC can jump up and down and scream and pull out their hair and all that other shit, but it's not going to have any impact on your financial activity. So yeah, and like I said, these guys are looking at doing things that will put us at a deficit here in the U.S., where we're going to be looking to Russia and China for their innovation. Because while we're talking about locking everything down, they're going to be talking about opening it up. Because they understand that if they do try and regulate it like the United States does, they're going to find themselves missing a lot of money, a lot of innovation that could be helping their country get ahead of the United States. And this is a reality that these regulatory entities just do not take seriously enough. You know, they believe that the Fat F is going to set up some rules and that they're going to figure out some way to force it on the people, and that the people aren't going to react to it. You know, they're just going to accept the fact that they're meant to be taxed. You know, they exist for every one of their financial transactions to be taxed. Well, I don't know about you, but I wasn't born to be taxed. I'm not a fucking cow. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down with some music. As far as where to go, I think this is it. Dope. I wish I was president. If I can start it over again without breaking this program. Here we go. I Wish I Was President by Dope, here on Coin Metal. Well, I guess that's one thing we can look forward to from a Biden administration if he ever becomes president. A war on freedom by Killing Joke. And it is with that I'd like to bring this episode to a close. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate your support. We will be back again on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. Watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I did pick one out this time. And although I did not scroll down to it, I am in the middle of the process of doing so at this very moment. So, where is it? S. Man, I got a lot of songs in here. I'm going to have to find some way to properly organize them so I could just click on one thing and then it'll bring it up. Anyway, here it is. Static X, Down. Last Dance. Here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening. Good night.